Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 Mods Weekly, where we take a look at some of the really cool mods that have come out for Fallout 4 during the past week. And this week we have some really cool and interesting mods and a lot of diversity. Let's go ahead and get started with a brand new weapon mod known as the Proximinty Frag Mine Layer by borjoyzee. Now, this is going to be essentially a recreation of the mine layer from Turok, though with a completely different style. The mod author said they really wanted to recreate the original Turok one, but instead opted for using some vanilla assets to give it a sort of construction feel and make it fit a bit more in the lore-friendly style of Fallout 4. And I gotta say, I really like this thing. You can see that it is clearly a kit bash of a minigun and a bunch of construction greebles, but it totally works. And honestly, this weapon is a ton of fun. I've never had so much enjoyment with the vanilla mine options. So basically, this weapon will just launch the vanilla mines, but it will throw them much further than your character ever could and at a much faster fire rate. Not only will this thing by default shoot these really fast, you can also throw on a fully automatic mod that will increase the magazine size to 10. So you can lob out 10 frag mines at an incredible pace. Not only that, you can also modify this thing at the weapons workbench to change out the type of mine that you use, and that will be open to every single mine in the vanilla game. So cryo mines, frag mines, plasma, nuke, everything will be included, which is super cool. Now, it's really important to note that this weapon is intended to be only used by the player. There is a small issue whenever you give it to NPCs or companions, and as such, it is not added to the leveled list. Instead, you'll have to craft this thing over at the chemistry station. But not only can you craft the weapon, you can also craft the ammo, as you are going to need a brand new ammo type since weapons can't fire regular grenade projectiles. So you'll be able to transfer one-to-one a regular mine into the new mine projectiles for this weapon. Additionally, this weapon has a full suite of custom sounds, not only for readying the weapon, but also for firing it, and even picking up the new mine projectiles. So I'll go ahead and let that play now so you can get a nice listen for yourself. So yeah guys, that is the Proximity Frag Mine Layer by borjoyzee. A really cool mod, and I have to say I like this one a lot. It's a ton of fun. I would love to see this thing on NPCs, but at the very least we can use it ourselves. With that though, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Moving on, we have Age of Steel Cybermen by RascalArt. Now, RascalArt has made a ton of mods in the past that bring in different franchises into Fallout 4, and in this case, we're going to be looking at Doctor Who, specifically adding in the Cybermen. Not only some brand new enemies to fight, but also new armor, power armor, and even some new weapons, making for a really cool and complete mod package. The first thing you'll notice when you install this mod is a whole bunch of new enemies added to the leveled list. Specifically, you will find the Cybermen and Heavy Cybermen pretty much anywhere that you would find synths. So whenever you fight the Institute, there is a chance that you will be fighting either synths or these newly added Cybermen. The regular Cybermen will be armed with built-in arm lasers or the potential to have a cyber rifle, though that seemed to be pretty rare in my experience. And then additionally, there are Heavy Cybermen, which will be running around in much heavier armor, akin to pretty much power armor, and they also have Gatling lasers. Now, additionally, there is one other version of Cybermen that you can run into known as Reject Cybermen, which did not make the full transformation and ended up going insane, and these can be found amongst ghouls. So anytime you fight ghouls, there is a small chance you find a heavily armored psychotic robot, so be careful for those, and they will be running at you pretty fast unless you install something like zombie walkers to slow them down a bit. Now that you have all these new enemies, there is another cool feature, which is their drops. Not only can you pick up the weapons from these enemies, like the built-in arm laser or the Cyberman laser rifle, but you can also pick up armor off of the Heavy Cyberman variants. Whenever you pick it up, it will be used as power armor, and you can slap it straight onto any power armor frame. Although for the helmet itself, you're actually going to have to take that over to a chemistry station and clean out the brains from the previous owner. Which, by the way, something I did notice is if you are fighting a Heavy Cyberman and you do enough damage to his helmet, it will break and reveal a skull underneath with a brain inside. I'm not too keen on Doctor Who lore, but this is a pretty nice touch and it looks really cool. Altogether, even if you're not really into Doctor Who, this adds some really cool new enemies and a ton of neat features like those newly added weapons and armors. I'd highly recommend pairing this with something like Fallout Who Regenerated, which adds even more Doctor Who stuff into the game if you're a fan of that. Otherwise, this is just a really cool standalone enemy mod. Good work by RascalArt as always, and I can't wait to see what you come up with next. For our next mod, we actually have a bit of an update instead of a full new release, and that is the Rangemaster Replacer by JKRuse05. Now, if you haven't tried out the Rangemaster before, this is going to be a recreation of the old school hunting rifle from Fallout 1 and 2, completely remastered for a 3D environment in Fallout 4. And the weapon by itself is great as it is, but the new update that we got is replacer versions of this weapon. What's really interesting is I was just thinking about how cool it would be to have the Rangemaster as a replacer either for the combat rifle in Fallout 4 or as the hunting rifle in Fallout 4, since this was the old school version of the hunting rifle, and JK Ruse went ahead and made that completely unbeknownst to me, and this is a really cool replacer. If you don't like the vanilla combat rifle, I would highly recommend picking this up, as I think this is an excellent replacement. It is super customizable. If you haven't checked out the Rangemaster before, it is incredible. Super lore friendly, tons of attachments, and you can really make it do everything that you'd want. Even though this is supposed to be a remaster of the classic hunting rifle, I think this is a true definition of a combat rifle. It can be used for so many scenarios, you can rechamber it to almost every caliber in the game, and there's a ton of faction skins as well. I like this weapon a lot, so seeing a replacer version is really cool. I just wanted to plug this one in today's Mods Weekly because it's a really cool mod, and I think the update is excellent. Up next, we have a brand new weapon mod known as the Modern Warfare PP-19 Bison by WarfightersWorkshop. This is going to add in a brand new PP-19 Bison, a super interesting Russian firearm with a helical magazine, and I've always wanted to see one of these in Fallout 4, and now we have a mod for it. This is obviously going to be using a ton of assets from Modern Warfare 2019 to include the weapon and the animations for it, but they are all really nice. Obviously, this is going to be a bit more suited for a tactical or modern load order, but if you enjoy the weapon, there's no reason not to download it. It is super cool, and the animations are absolutely gorgeous. There are, of course, a ton of attachments over at the weapons workbench you can throw on different sights, as well as stocks, magazines, suppressors, etc. And there's even some interesting perks straight from Call of Duty, like sleight of hand that will increase your reload speed, and a handful of other perks that all have really neat features that only work while you have this weapon equipped. So it's pretty cool to make this thing stand out from other weapon mods. This weapon is not added to the level list, instead you will have to craft it over at the chemistry station. By default it does use the 10mm ammo type, but I'm sure there will be patches in the near future that will change out the ammo type and add it to the leveled list, so stay tuned for those if you want to add even more customizability to this mod. And this mod is even available on Xbox, so if you want to try it out, it will be linked down in the description below, along with all the other mods in this video. For our next mod, we have Fallout London Camelot Merc by the Fallout London team. This is going to add a brand new weapon and armor set into Fallout 4 that are going to be featured in the much larger Fallout London project, but this is just a nice little standalone release so we can get our feet wet and try some of the stuff out from the bigger mod project. Now, the Camelot Merc outfit is a pretty standard one-piece armor set that you can customize a little bit over at the Armor's Workbench with a couple of lining mods, and if you want to get your hands on it, you are going to have to spawn it in via the console like a lot of the Fallout London mods. This one is not added to the leveled list. Same is true for the newly added weapon known as the Fire Lance, but there's a lot more going on with this little double barrel shotgun. It does look very similar to the vanilla double barrel, as it does use some of the same models, though it has a complete retexture and a whole overhaul that makes it so much different. First of all, there's a bunch of welded metal added to this thing to make it look a bit more like a lance, which I really like. And there's always, no matter what you do to this thing, going to be a built-in bayonet. Either in the form of a sharpened crowbar or a butter knife, there will be a bayonet of some kind added to this weapon, no matter what you do to it. So it's always going to have extreme melee damage potential, which is great since this thing is going to be used primarily at close ranges and it only has 2 shots before you have to reload. I'm assuming that this weapon is going to be a faction-specific weapon in the overall Fallout London project, though I could be wrong. This may just be a standard weapon. Regardless, it is really cool to see it in Fallout 4, and I like it a whole lot. It is a bit sad to see that it's only added via the console, though I'm sure there will be a patch soon that will add it to the level list. There is already a mod that will replace the vanilla double barrel with this one, but I'd prefer to make it a bit more unique personally. Regardless, this is a super cool weapon and a super cool armor set, and I have to say I like them a whole lot, and I'm really excited to see what else we can get from the Fallout London team. And finally, that brings us to our last mod, which is the Radium Pistol by Pig. This is going to add a brand new customizable radium-based pistol added specifically to the leveled list of the Children of Atom. The Children of Atom never really get a ton of love when it comes to weapon mods, and now they have a dedicated pistol that specifically deals high amounts of radiation damage, but still works as a ballistic firearm as well. You'll notice right away that this thing is nif-bashed out of the standard deliverer and a ton of parts from the gamma gun and radium rifle, but I have to say I like it a lot. It may seem pretty simple, but that's kind of how the Children of Atom works. They take regular working firearms and they turn it into something that deals out tons of radiation damage, just like the radium rifle from the Far Harbor DLC. So I think this fits very, very well and is a nice little lore-friendly pistol for their leveled list. Regardless of if you're going to use a radium-based pistol or not, I think this is a nice one to download just to spice up the Children of Atom, since their leveled lists are pretty lacking. And whenever you download this mod, it's not only going to work in the Commonwealth, but it will apply to the Far Harbor Children of Atom as well, so that's pretty neat. But I think that's just about going to wrap up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed and found at least one mod that you want to add to your load order. We've had some pretty cool mods this week. With that, if you want to try any of them, they will all be linked down in the description below, along with Xbox links if there are any available. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to drop a rating. Consider subscribing if you haven't already for more videos just like this. Big shout out to all of my patrons for supporting every single video, and a special thank you to Helljumper2077, Youth RC, Jackie Noid, Indecisive Wolf, Captain Chaos, and Feed. You guys are awesome and so generous. If you want to check out the Patreon, it will be linked down in the description below as well, but it is completely optional. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace!